Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics, Classics, and Non-Classics. This is episode number 625, and Doubleshot number 529. Two DC trades. Okay? First up it is Teen Titans, Volume 4, Light and Dark. Collecting issues 18 to 23 of Teen Titans Volume 4. Essentially put, this storyline is a remake of the Trigon story arc from the Marvel from George Perez run. Yeah, that's essentially what the storyline is. Though Trigon is not as big as he was back then. At the time, if anybody's ever read the original story, Trigon was as tall as a skyscraper. Here, he's about 9 feet tall and riding a horse. Oh yeah, and apparently Wonder Girl is familiar with him, even though Cassandra Mark never fought Trigon before in the previous continuity. Yeah, if anybody's ever read any comic featuring Trigon, a lot of the time he fights the Mark and George Perez lineup. Yeah, this lineup is completely different, but this lineup is noteworthy for bringing back... Yeah, this one also takes place right after the end of Deathstroke Volume 2. Yes, right after the end of that series, because that was where Beast Boy and Raven were last seen, and they get moved over here. Now, I kind of get the reasoning for moving Beast Boy over here, because, well, he's come associated with Teen Titans, makes sense. Excuse me. Though the ending of the storyline does set up the final arc of this particular volume, which is the Trial Kid Flash, which reveals his very dumb backstory, where this is not barred out. I will explain that when I get a chance to review Trial Kid Flash. But in the case of this, I would say for a remake of that particular story, it's okay. It's not terrible. This is just my opinion. I know that Tivia hates this particular run. I know Frankie does. In the case of me, after rereading this, because it's been some time since I read the original story, and I think it's just okay. It's not terrible, it's just okay. The writing is done by Scott Lobdell because this is essentially his run. I kind of thought that he left the book at this point. Yeah, I thought he left after 18 issues and then handed it to somebody else, but no, he's still on the book. Yeah, I thought at this point I thought he left after, like, Death of the Family, but no, he's still here with Eddie Burrows in the artwork. Yeah, the artwork in here is fantastic by Eddie Burrows with Tony Bedard. Fun fact, Tony Bedard only does one issue of this entire storyline. He does issue 20, and that's it. Though he does come back to the book about, let's see, this came out, I think it was in 2013, I believe this was, yeah, 2013. I want to make sure of that. Let's see, yeah, this storyline came out in 2013, so this came out roughly about 5 years ago, and yes, on the cover, yes, that's the post-Flash version of Superboy on the cover with Red Robin, you see Bunker over there, Kid Flash, and Wonder Girl. Yeah. I would say the best character written in the storyline is probably Wonder Girl herself, because somehow she's familiar with them. It's never properly explained exactly how. It's kind of like, oh, we had this guy called, he's like, yeah, and Tim Drake asks regularly, like, who's this guy? Because, well, it's a reboot, it's a new continuity, so they've never fought Trigon before, so have them fight Trigon. The fight is okay for what it is, and the way it's depicted here, Eddie Burrows does a fantastic job with it, and I'm kind of glad the fact that Eddie Burrows basically sticks to drawing Tim Drake really well, especially when he came to do, excuse me, around the first 20 issues, of James Tynion's run for Detective Comics. Though he did come back for Lonely Place of Dying. Yeah. Though he's not the only artist in this particular run. No, for these 6 issues, besides Eddie Burrows, we have Eber Ferrer, Rodney Butchum, Patrick Zurcher, Jesus Morano, Robinson Ruka, and Wayne Fletcher. The cover is done by Eddie Burrows, Ever Ferrer, and Alex Sinclair. So yeah, at least Eddie Burrows, despite the fact this is a really epic storyline, and Eddie Burrows does a fantastic job with the artwork in here. That's probably the best thing about these issues is the artwork. It is fantastic. And I've met Eddie Burrows, great guy. Yeah. Never met Liddell, but I have met Eddie Burrows. I even got him to sign an issue. I actually own one of the issues of this storyline. I do. I actually purchased it when it came out like 5 years ago. And I got him to sign that. And I told him in person, I disagree with the way Tinian was writing at that point in the time of Stephanie Brown, of her turning against the Bat family and being a hypocrite. It's kind of like Tinian himself didn't know what to do with Stephanie Brown. Yeah. But this is an okay storyline. I'm going to give it a 8.75 out of 10. This is just my opinion. Does not mean it's definitive. Alright. Next up is Superman Worlds of Krypton. Yep. This collects the first and second volume of the Worlds of Krypton miniseries. The first one, which is 3 issues, and the second volume is 4. Excuse me. And it collects the backup stories for Superman number 233, 236, 238, 240, 248, 257, and 266, and one story from Superman Family number 182. And there is many different people on the writing duties for this thing. You have Paul Kupperberg, John Byrne, Ed Nelson Bridwell, Denny O'Neil, Carrie Bates, Marv Wolfman, Elliot S. Morgan. Yeah, a lot of really good writers. Here are the artists. Howard Chaykin, Mike Mignola, yes, the same guy who created Hellboy. Rick Burnett, Murphy Anderson, Frank Carmonti, Dick Giordano, Gray Morrow, Michael Kucha, David Cockrum, who sadly is no longer alive. Yeah, I heard he passed away roughly about 20 years ago. Dick Dillon, Marshall Rogers, Joe Gila, Frank Springer, and Carlos Gurzon. Now, who does these stories? Well, Ed Nelson Brown does the first issue in here. He does the story from Superman 233, and the artwork is done by Murphy Anderson for that one. 236 done by Danny O'Neill. He's on the writing duties. The artwork is done by Dick Giordano. Carrie Bates does the next 2 in here, which is from 236, 238, with Dick Giordano on the first one. The second one is Gray Morrow. Carrie Bates is issue 240 with Michael Kula on 240. 248 is written by Marv Wolfman and artwork by David Cockrum. 57 is done by Elliot S. Morgan. Elliot Morgan also does issue 266 with Dick Dillon, both on the artwork for that one. Paul Kupperberg actually has a couple things. The first is The Stranger from Superman Family number 182. He also does the first volume of World of Krypton with Howard Chaykin on the artwork. Yep, Howard Chaykin does an entire 3-issue miniseries. The second volume, which came out in 1987, because the first one came out in 1979. Yeah, can you believe it's almost been 40 years since the volume came out? Yeah, it's really weird. The second volume released in 1987. This volume is roughly 32 years old. Yeah, it came out 32 years ago, the first issue anyways. Yeah, it's written by Mike Mignola. Well, excuse me. It is written by John Byrne with... Now, there's 2 different artists on here for these issues. All 4 issues, the breakdowns, first 2 issues, first 3 are done by Mike Mignola. He does pretty much all 4 issues, with finishes by Rick Burnett for issues 1 through 3, with Mike Mignola taking over full time as the final artist of this miniseries. These are roughly just various different versions of Krypton depicted over the years. I would say of all of them, I really enjoyed the Paul Kupperberg one, simply because this one actually fits a little more into the pre-crisis continuity. The John Byrne one was very bizarre, to say at least. It's kind of looked like Krypton was not like it's Jewish, like a scientific and fantasy society. This one, it's kind of like it takes a while just to figure out that these characters are apparently the grandfather. It's possibly Superman's grandfather Yeah, Jor-El's father. That's pretty much who the second volume is after. That's who the story about him. Yeah, and Jor-El himself appears in the covers, sitting in a chair thinking about this particular story. And of course, does Superman himself show up in these stories? Well, he shows up in the backup stories, and he does show up in the final issue of the second miniseries. And the first miniseries, he's mostly just telling us he's telling a story about Krypton. I gotta say these stories are classic for what they are, and I do recommend this to people who are fans of Superman. Yeah, yeah, and apparently, at one point, there was almost going to be no Superman from one particular story because it took a while to get to approval. Because apparently, on Krypton, apparently you have to seek permission to get married on Krypton. Yeah, Jor-El had to file permission. At first, it was rejected, and then later on, they got married. Yeah, Jor-El and Laura. I don't remember her last name. It's not L yet at that point. But yeah, at first it was rejected, and then of course it was approved. And they had the wedding in the last issue of the first miniseries, which was great. The fact they did it was great. It's a great conclusion to that particular miniseries. Second one, let me show up the second one's artwork. Now, this is Mike Mignola doing this artwork. Yeah, this is just, well, it's typical Mike Mignola. He is a fantastic artist. It's just at times you're like, what the heck is this? Like, what kind of story is this? It's just so bizarre. Yeah, Mike Mignola is not a terrible artist. He is a great artist. Sadly, the guy has not done artwork. I think he does the covers for his most recent work, like for books like Witchfinder, BPRD, even the Hellboy stuff. Most anything he's listed as a writer, he generally, from what I can tell, does the cover art for these books. As far as I can tell, he hasn't done interior artwork since probably since 1990s. Yeah, he hasn't had a long time, and my personal guess is the reason why he did it probably because he doesn't want to, maybe because his hands get a little tired after all this time because do artwork for so long. Yeah, that's just my personal theory, anyways, when it comes to the matter. But this is probably by far like the first thing I've reviewed trade-wise that collects issues from. That's something that Paul Kipper himself wrote. The last thing I reviewed that collects his work was his Supergirl run from the 80s. Yeah, but this collects not only his the War of Krypton miniseries, but also a story he did for Superman Family, which is interesting. Yep. Know what rating get this? What I get this straight? 10 out of 10. All stories in here pure classic. And I do recommend if people are fans of Superman. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be episode number 526 and Doubleshot number 530. Now, because if I got late, and the reason why this is coming up late is because, well, about a couple hours ago, I came back from watching Deadpool 2. Fantastic film. I'll probably do my own review of that probably tomorrow. Yeah, I'm expecting to do about, I'd say right now, about 2 more comic corners tomorrow. As for Baruto, I was thinking of doing it today, but because it got back so late, that'll be handled tomorrow. Okay? But until I see you in the next video, bye.